All right, here we go with the back nine of McClain Disc Golf Park in San Antonio, Texas. My wife kicked me out of the house today to go play some disc golf, so I figured it'd be a good day to finally go and record the back nine. Posted the front nine a while back, but here we go with the back nine. Kind of a windy day, and I haven't played in a little while, so I'm not sure what to expect. We're going to do our best to play smart, keep in the fairway as best as possible. This is a long par 4 to start, so not the best hole to start for me since I'm not warmed up yet. And I haven't played in a little while, but we're going to do our best. You can see the tight fairway here. So I decided we got a little bit of a headwind. It's a long hole, but it's not too long for a par 4. So I went with a defender, something overstable into the headwind. It shouldn't be as overstable. So I'm just trying to keep this kind of low, and anywhere in the fairway I'm going to be happy with on this first shot. It felt pretty good out of the hand for that first shot of the day. Just kind of faded out a little early. Don't quite have the strength that I'm used to having, so it didn't go very far, but definitely far enough to get a shot here. Still in the fairway, so I was pretty happy with the result. Thought about the pig here, but I decided to go with the Justice, something a little more overstable, something I really like throwing a forehand with, and just flick it up there and get a look at birdie. I just caught this a little too high, so the wind kind of held it up and didn't quite get the distance out of it, just kind of stalled out. I don't foresee myself making too many putts in this big wind, so just trying to give this as good of a bit as I can. And that one just stalled out a little early, hit that tree and dropped right in front of the basket. So should be able to get a par here on this first hole, which is just fine by me. Start out with a par. Definitely a birdieable hole, but I'll take par there for the first hole. Hole 11, 304 feet. Another really tight fairway. You can see the basket there straight ahead. This one felt like the perfect distance and perfect type shot for the escape, something I can kind of flex a little bit and keep it pretty straight for a while. So that's what I decided to go with, is the escape. Try to kind of aim down the left side of the fairway and let it kind of turn over towards the right side and then fade back at the end towards the basket. That's the plan, at least, and that's about the distance for my escape. Kind of put a little too much hyzer on it, didn't really flip it up, didn't hit my line, but just kind of faded out. Got lucky, it kind of hit a tree on the left and came back out into the fairway. So not a bad result. And again, don't expect to make too many putts this distance, but we're definitely going to give it a go. I putt with the Wardens. I really like their flight. And let's see if we can get a nice putt. We kind of missed a birdie opportunity on the first hole. Let's see if we can capitalize on this second hole, and we're able to drain it. So kind of a great start putting wise. Able to get it to go on the second hole. So 1 under after 2 holes. Not too bad for me, for McClain. There you go, seeing me act stupid, saying 1 down. Hole 12, really short par 3. But this is one that I've struggled with, as you can see, just super tight. Before I've tried kind of the forehand down that left side. Throwing a backhand in that right little gap is really tight. So I decided to try something I haven't done yet and just go with a kind of a really high sky hyzer with the Felon and just try to drop it onto the basket. You can see that big open gap in the sky to the right, so that's kind of what I'm going for here. Kind of got worried I was going to lose it out in the trees and just kind of didn't put it out to the right enough, and it faded out early and kind of short. So not the worst shot. It's in the fairway, so I was pretty pleased with that result, especially compared to past times on this hole where I just hit trees early trying to hit those tight gaps. So this might be my play moving forward on this hole. Another long putt, see if we can get another one to go. Not the worst bid, but left it well short and to the right. So come up here and clean it up for our par and stay 1 under after 3 holes. Hole 13, across the little field here for the power lines. This is one you can kind of grip it and rip it. One of the few holes on McClain that you can do this. There's a similar hole on the front 9, but this one on the back 9. It's going to take everything I have to get there. We got another headwind, so I went with the Raider. This is one of my favorite drivers, and I feel like in a headwind I can keep it pretty straight before it starts to fade out on me, so that's why I decided to go with this. You can see the basket just to the, basically lined up with my right leg right now. That's where the basket is, and this one felt pretty good. Stayed pretty straight most of the way and just faded out a little bit. Again, I don't have the strength that I'm used to having, so I didn't really expect the distance that I usually get when I'm playing a lot. But we almost got it there. We have a decent little chance for birdie here. You can kind of see the wind blowing a little bit. Another long putt. I don't think I jump putt. I think I'm close enough to where I don't feel like I need to. And had a good line on that, just didn't quite have the distance. You can see it just dropped right there after it hit the pole. Dropped straight down. Next hole, 14. Another tight hole here, 298. And this hole, I kind of go back and forth between throwing backhand and forehand. I decided to go backhand today. You can get this one up in the air a little bit once you hit that first little gap. So I decided to go with the Vandal. This is a disc that I love in Disc Golf Valley, and I like it in real life when I have to throw a backhand turnover shot. I can kind of just count on it turning to the right and staying to the right pretty much the whole time. It rarely comes and starts fading on me. So I want to just kind of throw this down the left side and have it turn the whole way. And this one felt really good. Got to run over there to try to keep an eye on it. The basket's way off to the right here. And you'll kind of see me walking up. It looked like it went a little bit long. I just wasn't quite sure how long it went. Downhill, so you definitely gain some distance here. I was worried it got into the bushes a little bit, but then when I got to about right here, I glanced over and spotted it. There it is. So pretty good shot for me on this hole. Really good flight. Just kind of turned to the right the entire time. So great hole for a backhand understable disc or a forehand, whichever shot you kind of like to shape, depending on the wind. So here we go, another decent opportunity for a birdie here. Probably my best opportunity of the day so far, I think. And we're able to knock it in, so we go 2 under after, what's that, 5 holes? I'm not sure. I think so. And there you go. See me acting goofy again. 2 down. Hole 15, 394 feet. This is a really tough hole for me. Can't really go high. You have to keep it really low, and the basket's way off to the left. So you got to hit a tight gap, which I'm not great at. And then you kind of, the best shot is kind of a little flare skip once you finally land. So I decided to go with that defender again. Just try to keep it really nice and low, but keep it on kind of a hyzer angle. That way you get a little bit of a skip up and left towards the basket once it lands. The ground isn't ideal for that type of shot just because there's some rocks and stuff, so it depends on where you hit if you're going to get that skip or not. But this is another shot that felt pretty good for me. Definitely had my eye on it. And the way it sounded, just kind of scraped the ground. It sounded like it just caught some rocks, so I didn't expect it to get much of a skip. I couldn't see it at that point, and sure enough, it didn't really get much ground play, so we're a ways back. You can see the basket straight ahead there. So not much look for birdie here. Even if I kind of straddle over to the right, which I kind of look at first, I didn't like it. I had that tree up to the right, which right in my line, so I decided on just a kind of a little forehand flick with the putter. Maybe give this a little chance, but definitely not expecting this to go in, just getting it up there close to the basket. But I liked the forehand line better than kind of a jump putt backhand. So flung that up there, got it next to the basket, and another easy par. So far this is a great round for me on this back nine. Usually I've screwed up at least one hole at this point. Hole 16, really short, 170 feet, par 3. Definitely a fun hole. I usually go forehand. I kind of like to flick it around that big tree that curves to the right, and then it kind of follows the creek bed up towards the basket. The pig is a great disc on this hole, and that's what I usually use. So that's what I decided to go with here. And again, I'm trying to just flick it around, get a little bit of turn. In my mind, I want to flick it pretty hard. That way it turns a little harder before it starts to fade. And I think that big tree just kind of scared me. Didn't quite turn it enough, and it just kind of caught fading out way too early. You can see we're way up there, nowhere near the basket, so Tough little bid and kind of dangerous. Not too dangerous. I mean, if you miss, you're basically down in the creek bed. So I'm trying to give this a bid, but just kind of a soft bid. That way, if I miss, it doesn't go too far by. When I do these softer type putts, I'm not as accurate as when I can go right at it. And that one just kind of way too soft and high and slipped off to the left. Didn't feel good enough about putting with the phone in my hand, so wanted to make sure I made this one, and we got it to go. So still 2 under. Moving on to hole 17, 283 feet downhill. This is another fun one that kind of goes off to the right. I've thrown both shots, forehand and backhand here. You can't really tell how far downhill this looks by this picture. And then there's a creek just behind the basket, so you don't want to go long. It's not the worst because you can usually find it and have a decent look. But I decided to go with my Justice. Kind of a little long as far as distance wide for it, but it is downhill. And I felt pretty good about being able to hit the fairway with the Justice. It's one of my favorite forehand discs. And this one looked really good. Just flung it out to the left side, then it started fading right at the right time. Just a little bit short. Justice isn't known to get much of a skip when it hits, so it didn't really get much ground play. And then I was far enough back, I didn't really want to go down. I wasn't sure if there was any water down there, and it almost rolled away into the creek. I just kind of tossed it up there for an easy par. You can see I don't want to mess with missing long and going down there and having to struggle getting my par. So moving on to last hole. This is a fun looking hole, but it's a tough tee shot for me. I rarely get through clean. You can see it's a really tight gap. There's not really any space to go high. So you basically have to go low and straight. And again, it's across the field there. The basket straight ahead. Decided to go with my Felon. There is still a lot of wind, but I am keeping this really low. But I felt pretty good about that disc if I can somehow hit this gap right. But so often I end up yanking it or hitting the tree high. So we're going to see if we can just go right under that overarching branch. And I'm able to do it a little lower than I wanted it to. So it just didn't quite glide far enough before it caught the ground and died out on me. But still, better shot than I'm used to throwing on this hole. And pretty confident I can get the birdie or the par from here and finish off a solid round. It's pretty rare that I'll shoot 2 under on one of the 9s on McClain, so I'm pretty happy up to this point. A lot of wind up there right now, so I just pulled out the pig versus throwing the Warden and just tossed it up there with a little jump putt. And we got an easy tap in for par. So we finish off our round, the back 9 at McClain. 2 under par, not too shabby for me. Especially it's been like a month since I played, so I will take that any day of the week. Hope you guys enjoyed. It's always fun to do these little videos for courses. This is one of my favorite courses in the San Antonio area. So if you're around this area, check out this course. Definitely fun to play. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed.